Hello, my name is Stephanie Caruso, and the title of my talk today is From Generation to Generation. I'm going to be sharing with you today some information about family history. Have you ever wondered what life was like for your ancestors when they were your age? Have you ever wondered how you inherited certain traits that you possess? Have you wanted to know more about your family history but never knew where to start? Most people know the names of their immediate family members, but a lot of people do not know their generations farther back than just their immediate grandparents. Um, Often people recall a few stories from their own childhood, but generally things are vague and hard to remember without writing it down. This is where family history comes into play. Knowing your family history and preserving it can shape your future and the future of your posterity. Why is family history or genealogy so important? Well, when a loved one passes away, so does any stories or information that they may have about themselves and about their life. That information goes with them. By documenting life stories and keeping pictures, you will always be able to remember that person and to look back and be able to have the history that you may not have known existed. This information can be passed on from generation to generation. To be able to tell your children a story about their great-grandparents is priceless. A few years ago, my grandfather passed away, and there wasn't a lot that he talked about as far as from his childhood or his early 20s. And as his grandchildren, we knew that he had served in the military, and we knew that he had fought during World War II, but we did not have a lot of information about it because he would never talk about it. And the sad part is that once he passed away, that was the time that we were able to actually go through his personal effects, and we were able to get a little bit more information about him. And during that time, we came across some really neat articles that were printed in the paper where he lived at the time, which was in St. Louis. And it had some clippings about him and how he fought at the Battle of Iwo Jima, and how he saved the lives of several other men in his company. And he received the Purple Heart, which none of us even knew where that Purple Heart was until we started going through his personal effects. And I thought how sad that was that we didn't even know this information about my grandpa. We knew that he had served, but I personally had no idea that he had earned the Purple Heart. And what an amazing honor that he had, but it was sitting in a drawer in his bedroom. And I got to thinking about that, and I thought, well, is he ashamed of it? Is he just, it's so painful, he didn't want to talk about it? And in asking my dad a little bit more so that I could have this family history to document, he said that my grandpa never wanted to talk about it because it was too painful. And I cannot imagine having to go through that and having to keep that memory just buried inside of you. And so now we keep his Purple Heart displayed. We have really great scrapbooks of pictures of him serving, and pictures that we came across that we had never seen before. And so family history is very important, and there's things that you can find out that you never really realized or knew. And the time is not to wait to ask these questions until someone's gone, but it's to ask when they're around. Excuse me. Another important reason to do family history work is to find out what makes you, you. For some of you, you may know your heritage and your nationality, but for others, you may want to know more about that. How did your family come to be? Where did your family start? What physical traits did you inherit, and from who? Now I'm going to share with you how to get started in family history. The first place to begin is with yourself. You start with yourself and start creating, actually the easiest way, I think, to start, if you haven't already started doing some type of memory book, is to take a cardboard box and place it in a place where it will be in your way all the time. And start placing things in that box that are about you. It might be things like pictures, certificates, diplomas, letters, notes, awards, report cards, anything that you feel is about you. once you feel that you've gathered most everything that you can find, you start breaking it up into 3 areas of your life. You would start with your youth, and then your teenage years, and then your adult years. Once you've done this and compiled this, you can put it into what we call a book of remembrance. You can write notes next to each picture if you'd like. Some people call this scrapbooking, which is the common term for it, but it's wonderful to have a book of remembrance to share with your family. Especially if you're writing down things about what's happening at the time in those pictures, because it's very hard to go back and remember what you were doing. This book of remembrance would be something that you would be able to share and keep and pass on to your children and your children's children, and they would have that to look back on. The next thing after you've done something for yourself is to move on to your family members that are still alive. You need to begin by asking questions. Start with the eldest people in your family. They love to share stories. They love to talk about things that they can remember, and that's a great place to start and start writing things down. And a lot of times they know somebody, Aunt whoever's name and where she came from or where she lives, and that's the best place to start. Excuse me. As people do grow older, they tend to forget things, and so it's easier if you can ask them now before they do get too much older and they can still remember things. The third place after you've gone to your family is the internet. The internet is a valuable tool that can help you find information on your family history. The best place to begin is called FamilySearch.org. At the bottom of the page you can click on Learn and Getting Started, and this website is an awesome tool that allows you to find out so much more family history than you ever knew existed, and it's free. Also on the internet you could Google genealogy or family history, and several articles and documents will come up that you can take a look at and see and research some more. It depends on where you're at in your family history. If you're just getting started, it's great to start with FamilySearch.org and then go to Googling genealogy. There's also a website called Ancestry.com, and this site gives you a trial period, but it also costs money, so I suggest that you start with the other sites. Now that you have all this information, what do you do with it? You can start with keeping a family history book, and you can pick up things like a pedigree chart, which will allow you to track your family, and that's a great way to start. And this can also be a book of remembrance. And there are also downloadable programs as well. In conclusion, I just wanted to share with you that family history is such a valuable, precious commodity, and I really hope that by me sharing this information with you today that you will find it interesting and informative, and that you will go out and start your family history today. Thank you.